Hi, friends.
Hi, friends.
We're back. It's episode 116 of the Brunch and Judge.
I'm like impressed with us. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, what I like though is that now that we have gone into like 16, like I'm like, oh, I'm 16 going on 17. Like I can replay all of the hits from the
All
previous
those.
ones.
Right.
But so woohoo.
Yay.
Anyway,
Yeah, I had a friend asking me, like, how many episodes y'all have out? I'm like, actually, we just did 115. And I said, this one we're getting ready to record is 116. She's like, really? Right. It's like, yes, we've been doing this for a while.
We are your hosts. I'm April.
And I'm Claire.
And this week we are talking dumb ways to die.
Yes, we
are. Now, I will say that when I think I came up with this topic.
I'm
possibly,
sure
probably. It's been a long time now.
It was either you or Spencer.
When I put it on there, I'm pretty sure my thought was a mix between the really fun video game that I play on my phone all the time and also the TV show 1,000 Ways to Die that got canceled, and so I actually only did 500 Ways to Die. So
I know. I'm sad that they didn't get.
I was like,
I used to watch that when I would come home for lunch.
I always remember the one where it was like some giant inflatable like suit or something, or like a big inflatable ball that you could get in but you shouldn't stay in, and
for a long time
this couple went in and had sex and they died because they
had
enough oxygen. That one stayed with me. I'm like,
but I think because they also put like hydrogen in it or something to like heighten the
helium, right?
Or yeah, that was it. It was a different type of gas. It wasn't just oxygen.
They filled it with
there.
helium.
That was it.
Yeah, that shit's fun until it kills you.
Yeah, and they stayed in there too long. See, I remember the one where it was like the woman was using, was it a carrot? I think it was a giant carrot as a dildo.
No. And
but because because it was rough and it like cut something on the inside and it like, And then also the other one was the lady who used the ringworms to try to like lose weight. And that one, that was also stupid. Those are the two that like stuck out in my memory that I was like, why?
I know.
It was just like, yes, ringworm, please. Or whatever worm.
The tapeworm.
Tapeworm, that was it, not ringworm. Tapeworm, yes. Like what? No.
I mean, like I'm here for the easy, quick lose weight thing, but it's not that. I'm not choosing.
No.
Pass.
Not when it gets to be like 5 times the size of your intestine. No. No. That's not it.
Intestines are weird enough on their own. We don't.
Right. Like no.
Let's not add things. No. Anyway, so Claire, you go first this week.
I do.
What wonderful story have you brought us on Dumb Ways to Die?
I'm going to be talking about golf.
I mean, yes, it's. Yeah. Okay. Let's do it.
I was just like in my Dumb Ways to Die search. I found a couple of things and I was like, say what now? So anyway, golf, for those of you who don't know, it's Scottish. It's a Scottish sport.
Yay.
That's where it was created. The modern version of golf that we know is like 15th century Scotland. It's always been known as like a gentleman's game, whatever. Yeah, there's this movie that I like called The Greatest Game Ever Played. Because I love a good sports movie,
yes,
a good underdog sports movie. Go watch it. It's if you like a good underdog sports movie, it has Shia LaBeouf in it. And when he's younger, before he became douchey. Yeah, before he became douchey. But yeah, it's a really good like sportsy movie. and it's like inspirational about a guy who is an amateur and who winds up playing in, based on true story, obviously. Uh, Amateur winds up playing in the professional golf tournament
Mhm.
and beats everybody as an amateur. But the thing is, back in the day, if you were an amateur and you played, you didn't get the money. And
Oh,
so his parents, who were like immigrants, his mom was Irish and his dad was French, I think, if I remember correctly. His dad was very much, why are you playing this sport? Stupid.
yeah.
And he was like, why are you doing this if you're not even, if you win, you don't get any
You don't even
money.
get anything. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but he does win, and people take up like money to give to him because his family was not well off, and that was another thing. Is it was just like, you're a peasant. Why are you playing this game? Because everybody, it's such a snooty game, guys. It
Ugh.
started out such a snooty
I
game.
mean, it still is. Let's be real.
Yeah, it really is. Like, you have to have money to play it.
I
I
mean,
mean,
don't get
because
me
you have to
wrong.
belong.
It's cool. It's fine if that's your thing.
Yeah.
Enjoy it. But
Yeah,
like,
because you have to belong to the country club, which you have to pay fees, and the
mm-hmm.
clubs are fucking expensive. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, the balls and all that shit, shoes, like everything else. Anyway, but golf. It's got some big names, like great players like Jack Nicklaus, Arnold Palmer, because it's not just a drink.
It should be. But go ahead.
It should be. Tiger Woods,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, Phil Mickelson, all these older big names. I'm sure there's some new big names coming up like Rory McIlroy. Anyway, there is one guy in particular that sticks out to me when I think of like ridiculousness when it comes to golf, and that's John Daly.
Okay.
um Wild clothes. He's the guy in the meme. I don't know if you've seen the meme with like Tiger Woods standing there and then the guy in like the wild pants and the blue
Oh.
shirt
Mm-hmm.
smoking the cigarette. That's John Daly. And it's always like people have done several things with it where it's like Tiger Woods is like the swanky area code and John Daly's like the trashy area code, shit like
Right.
that.
Right.
Yeah, but that is John Daly. And that is just typical of his clothes that he would wear. Like he's always wild clothes. He's also known for drinking beer while he was like warming up and doing his warm up swings. He would like drink a
Dig it.
beer and go do his warm up stuff. He's known for temper tantrums. At least for me, I remember that shit. Throwing his clubs. There was like one time he was playing. They were like up near like Lake Michigan, and he hit the ball into the lake like I don't know
Mm-hmm.
7 or 8 times in a row, and he finally gets it across. And as he's walking away, he just chucks his club into Lake Michigan. He's just over it. He's also known for breaking his clubs.
Mm-hmm.
Temper tantrums abound. And golf is one of those sports where it's like you're supposed to be known for like composure, not having temper tantrums. Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You just keep that shit to yourself. Shove that shit down. You have your temper tantrum
That's
later.
right.
Don't do it out in public.
Yeah.
Um, Golf, it can be a super frustrating sport, as we know. You know,
I
many
mean, yeah.
factors. Yeah. So, I mean, many a person probably has lost their temper playing golf. Let's just be honest. Um, so, but I don't know if y'all knew this, but there's some times where like losing your temper while playing golf can probably be detrimental to your health.
That seems fair and accurate.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So one of those times, in 1994, a 16-year-old named Jeremy Breno from Gloversville, New York, he was playing a round of golf with some friends. He made a bad shot, as people do. I mean, it happens to the best of us. Um, in frustration, anger, whatever, he slammed his club, which was a number 3 wood. That means nothing to me.
Mm-hmm.
I know the driver and I know a putter, and that's it. The rest of them, I'm like, what the fuck is that? I don't know. Anyway, he took his number 3 wood and he like hit it really hard on this nearby bench. Unfortunately, the club broke
Uh-huh.
and it the part bounced back and it hit him in the chest and it pierced his heart.
You've got to be kidding me.
No,
That
I'm
is
not.
so bananas. Like, I mean, I get it breaking and hitting, but like to stab him in the heart?
Yeah. And he later succumbed to his injury at the hospital. Yeah.
Damn.
Hmm.
Get your anger under control.
Yeah. So
Damn.
if you're playing golf, be careful with your anger issues. But that's not the only time
take a stress ball.
yeah, and that's not the only time a broken club has killed somebody. In 1951, a 25-year-old named Edward Harrison from Bellevue, Washington. This was not out of anger. This was just a freak accident. However, this also was just like, what were you doing, dude? So it said he was swinging his driver and he hit his golf cart. Why was your golf cart that close?
Yeah.
Because I'm not a golf expert by any means. I hate golf. My dad loves to watch it. Much
Oh
to my chagrin.
God, that is. I mean, I have played very very minute amount of golf. It's
Right.
fun. I mean, I
Putt-putt's my
like it.
jam.
3 par courses are kind of my jam because they're easier. I can't do like the big 18 whatever, but
Right.
uh,
I mean, putt-putt's my jam,
but
but whatever.
like it is the most boring thing to watch other people do. I don't want to. I mean,
Right.
it's.
Uh-uh.
Uh,
I know. Dad has it on and it's like sleep is my coping
mm-hmm.
mechanism. I'm like, or go somewhere else and read, whatever.
Yep.
I'm like, no, I'm not doing this. Like, why? No. I remember this is my parents. I remember I asked mom once, I was like, how can you stand to like sit here and watch this?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why are you like here with him
Yeah.
watching this? Like, what is the deal? And she was just kind of like, well, she was like, it's something that your dad enjoys. And she was just like, well, I just want to be with your dad. And so it was just this thing that I just, started to like watch because your dad. And it's just like, that's just because I love your dad and it's part of it. And I'm just like, wow.
I mean,
Wow.
like, I love
I mean, this was
Spencer.
years ago that I asked this,
Well, I know,
like when
and
I was
like
like a kid.
I love Spencer, and he, he has lots of he plays video games, and some of them I kind of watch as he plays, and some of
Right.
them I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna go over here and do something else now. But
Yeah. Again, yeah, like I love Brandon.
I
And
rarely just sit and watch. Like maybe I'm doing a crossword on my phone, or maybe I'm working
right.
on like my Lego. That's what my weekend activity now.
Yeah.
Um,
It's like I love
no.
Brandon and it's, at least he likes something a little bit more exciting, like racing.
Mm.
You know, and not just like NASCAR racing where they drive in a circle. He likes the IMSA or Le Mans or something
Mm-hmm.
where at least there's more curves in it than just I'm gonna ride in an oval, It's a little bit more exciting. So it's like I can sit there and watch that a little bit more than just like golf. And because they're so quiet. You're not
Well,
allowed to
and like
talk.
even the announcer is like, and he's stepping up. He's got his whatever. And oh. And it's like after it goes, like, and they made it. And then he goes right back down to this. I'm like,
Yeah, I know. It's so stupid. Yeah, but anyway, but yeah, like I said, I'm not a golf expert by any means, but it's like as far as I know,
like
golf cart should be
there's
away.
like it is like there's you drive your golf cart to an area and then you walk up to the green.
The tee to the tee.
Yeah.
Because he was teeing off. Like
So,
he was using it. He was using his driver, so
you
he's
don't-
teeing off.
You don't. I don't know. Okay.
Yeah, but anyway, but he's teeing off. So I mean, this is a big swing. This is not like some little putt, And so he hit his golf cart, and so the shaft broke, and it bounced back around, and it pierced him in the groin.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I am so sorry for him.
Yeah, that's like that's not good.
I mean, there's some karma there. I don't know what you did in a past life, but
right.
Damn, karma came for you.
Right. Bleeding profusely, trying to get other people's attention. They found his body about 100 yards from the ninth tee by the fairway. Other golfers nearby said that they were like, oh, we thought his screaming were peacocks from a nearby peacock farm.
I mean, it's horrifying, but also like,
Right.
hey, what's that screaming? Oh, it's just the peacocks.
I know, right?
Okay.
Like, is that the noise they make? I mean,
My
what?
memory, and this is because peacocks lived next door when I was growing
Right.
up. My memory is that it's more of a ah ah ah.
Maybe that was all he could get out because it was his groin. I don't know. I don't know what kind of noises he was making. But anyway, he died from a ruptured iliac artery.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Guys, be careful of
Damn.
your broken clubs.
Yes. they
Please.
they may break your personal club.
I mean, but
Oh
temper
god.
tantrums and broken clubs are not the only way that people have died from
Mm-hmm.
golf. Um in Virginia, a man was playing around and he left this country club with a headache. And oh, wait, I'm sorry. I forgot to name my sources as I always do. Damn it. Wikipedia, Snopes, New York Times, Golf Digest, and newspapers.com.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, this guy left this country club with a headache, which you're like, okay, maybe he was like out
Mm-hmm.
in the sun too much, whatever. Um, but he later started suffering from fever, nausea, later got some type of rash. Then several days later, he went to the hospital. He's covered in blisters.
What the hell happened to this guy?
And then shortly after that, he died. Turns out he had an allergic reaction to the pesticide that the golf course used, the country club used on
Holy
their golf course.
fuck.
Yeah.
Damn. Okay.
And I'm just like, how unfortunate for you, sir. Like, ew. That's
Yeah.
terrible. That sounds like a terrible, awful death.
Yeah.
um, Also another awful death. In Arizona, a teenager died shortly after leaving a golf course, and they found out, I guess, in autopsy, that he had contracted a neurovirus from drinking the contaminated water at the golf course.
Wait, like the contaminated water being like their water going through pipes, or like he got a mug full of fucking water trap water? Like what?
No, like it made it sound like it was their pipe water was contaminated.
Oh my god.
Like he drank a glass of water and it was contaminated.
I hate that as I'm drinking my water.
You're like, ew.
Damn.
Another one, because people like to drink while they play golf, and I've never understood that. 'Cause I just feel like that's bad for everyone involved because you're swinging clubs.
Mm-hmm.
A golfer died. This is in Canada. A golfer died after crashing his golf cart into a retaining wall.
Mm-hmm.
And then it wound up tumbling like 20 feet down onto the road below.
Damn.
And it wound up being ruled an accident, even though the autopsy said that the guy's blood alcohol level was twice the legal limit.
Damn.
And I'm just like, really? We're going to say that was an accident?
I mean, I guess it was, but also whatever. I have nothing to say. I don't know.
Seriously, come on. I feel like there were other factors at play in that.
Some Darwin was at play.
I mean,
I'm just saying.
Yeah. Seriously. In South Africa, a man had hit a few of his balls into this water dam, and he was searching for his balls.
Mm-hmm.
And he was attacked by a crocodile.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, and it dragged him under. And they found his body the next morning, and it wasn't eaten, but he was drowned.
Mm-hmm.
Like they said, his body was fully intact. He just had some bite marks, I guess, where the crocodile had dragged him under.
It's like they like to take you down and then they like to leave you there so that you can get all nice and rotty and tasty. So you probably like wasn't nestled in enough and floated back up, but
Yeah.
yeah.
It was a 12-foot crocodile.
That's quite large.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's twice of me and then some. Yick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Same. So yeah. I'm just like, so you hit your balls in the water, guys. Just leave them.
So one of the few times that I actually went legitimate golfing, like to an actual for real
Like,
golf course,
uh-huh.
I hit my ball and I hit it near the water. And when I got over to where we thought I had hit it, there's an alligator, and I went, never
No
mind,
thanks.
pass.
No thanks.
We were in South Carolina, so whatever. But I was like,
Okay, yeah.
nope, I don't even want to be here.
You're like, can we leave now?
I'll just take the penalty. It's fine.
Like,
I'm gonna drop it over here. It's fine.
Right. You're just like, no thanks. I'm out. This is another, like, I guess anger one. I don't know if it's temper tantrum, but still, don't let your anger get the better of you. This guy was searching for his ball, and I don't know if you all know the rules, but if you're playing etiquette, you're supposed to wait until the person, unless they tell you, go ahead and play through. From what I understand, once they said, hey, you can go ahead and play through. We're taking too long, whatever. Anyway, this guy was searching for his ball. The group behind him was not pleased that he was taking too long to search for his ball. So a confrontation started to take place between this group of guys and this one guy searching for his ball. Altercation broke out. The guy with the lost ball wound up kicking one of the other guys in the chest, I guess, kind of like attacked him.
Okay.
He kicked the guy in the chest and the guy died. So,
I mean, this one of those things like, yeah, I know that can happen, but also like, it's not supposed to happen.
Yeah. Apparently it was enough that it went to trial and the jury wound up ruling that it was self-defense.
Oh, I mean,
I'm assuming because he was one man against three.
Yeah.
And if they kind of like jumped him because he was just like, dude, I'm just looking for my ball. Calm down. So, anyway, those are some ways, dumb ways to die by playing golf. So,
damn. It's a lot of cranky, temper tantrumy. Like, there's an awful lot of testosterone and anger happening on like what's supposed to be a very like zen, calming,
right? Yeah,
sport.
I know, right? Yeah, I'm just like, yeah. So anyway, dumb ways to die. Golf. It's a dumb way to die.
It really is. Well, and like that doesn't even count any of like the. I'm sure there are stories. I feel like I've heard them where like because they're out golfing in whether they shouldn't or near whether they shouldn't, they get struck by lightning. Right. And I'm going, what are you doing? There is nothing. This game is not that important.
Absolutely. and like
all the heart attacks that happen all over the golf course.
That was, I mean, there were a lot of those when you're like, deaths on golf course. Heart attacks abound, you know. Or even like stroke. There was one, it was like aneurysm, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
This was just like the wild, bizarre stuff. That was like,
who would have thought
can kill
that
you.
Golf is such a dangerous game? I mean, like, considering that ultimately you're playing against just yourself, like that's it. You're trying to do your best, better, you know, what you've done before or whatever. So
like you are one person. You are
that it's just like okay. Huh.
Yeah, you're trying to beat your lowest score. You know, you're trying to, you know, just do better, get your best PR, I guess, you know, against yourself instead of worrying about everybody else. But
wild.
Yeah, those were just some of the wild, stupid things that I saw in my quest for dumb ways to die. And I was just like, I hate golf. So yeah, golf is stupid, number one.
Yes.
Not a fan of golf. I know tons of people who love golf. I know my dad loves to watch it. My new boss just loves to play golf. all the time. Like if he could, he would just go play golf all summer.
Mm,
God, my nose is
yeah.
so itchy. It's just like,
Well, and like there have been people in my family, my uncle Marion, who unfortunately passed away this past week. He was super into golf, and like they
uh-huh.
watch the Masters like it
Mm,
is the most important sporting event that has ever been. Like
yeah.
they embrace it in a way. And I remember there'd be random times that they'd be visiting or we'd be visiting them somewhere around
Yeah.
that time, and it would just be on nonstop, and I would just be
Mm-hmm.
like,
And I remember like Sundays with the Masters, Dad's like,
mhm.
"Oh, we have to get home.
Yeah.
We have to get home and watch the Masters. We have to go
And you're
now."
like, I can't even be here.
I know. I'm like, I'm going to
He's like, going to
April's, or
April's
it's like,
house. We're gonna go do literally anything else.
right, we're just gonna do anything but be
Mm-hmm.
here. Or it's like if you weren't around, it's like I'm just gonna go upstairs
Mm-hmm.
and watch TV. Anything but this.
Yeah.
So,
Like I'm gonna go sit in my room alone for a while and stare
right,
at a wall because it's actually still more interesting.
right. I'll go read one of your Jesus-y books, okay? Then sit down here and watch this.
Well, that was excellent, Claire. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Love it.
I know. When I found that first one with the
Mm-hmm.
kid breaking the thing and it hitting him in the chest and his heart, and I was like,
Yeah.
"What?" That's what like
So
jump
freakish.
started that whole thing. So I was like, "Well, let's see what else I can find with this." Okay. So yeah, golf, dumb way to die. Don't do it.
Absolutely. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
All right. So I went a slightly different route in my dumb ways to die. And I
Yes.
decided this would be a great opportunity to tell you about the Great Molasses Flood.
What? Like actual molasses? Like
Actual molasses. The Great
there was
Molasses
a
Flood
flood?
in Boston in 1919.
What?
So
I have not heard of this.
this feels like I feel like I've heard this story a billion times, but then I think
Really?
maybe it's just because like I lived in Boston for a hot second. Like I remember my family going up and doing the New England trip as a kid, and it probably stuck in my mind because it's it's a local thing. Like I've been to Boston a few times.
I don't
So
remember. I mean, we went on that same trip. I don't remember hearing about that when we were there.
I don't know if we did when we were there. But when I was like in 6th grade, my family did like a long New England trip.
Okay. Like I was just thinking like the Boston trip.
No, I do remember that. Yeah, no, as a
We
church
mostly
group, we
did.
went to Salem and we were like, we can feel the power of the devil here. Do you
I
remember?
know.
Do
It's
you
like
remember?
Satan is
Oh,
with
God.
us.
Everyone was freaking the shit out. And I was like,
I know. It's like I can feel the witchcraft.
oh, God. Church is stupid. Okay.
It's so creepy here. I don't want to be here anymore.
And then I went and lived there
like,
and I was like, it's just a town, guys. It's just a fucking town. It's so normal.
right.
You're fine. Okay. So I got my information from Wikipedia, History, NPR, and Time Magazine.
Nice.
So before we talk about the 1919 Great Molasses Flood, we're going to start off in 1915 in Boston. And the United States Industrial Alcohol Company constructed a 50-foot tall storage tank to serve its Purity Distilling Company subsidiary that fermented molasses into industrial alcohol.
Okay.
So they built a big storage tank. So molasses at the time came from the Caribbean, and they would ferment it, get the industrial alcohol that would be used as solvents for like cleaning fluids, manufacture detergents. It's used for flavoring extracts, it's put in perfumes, but also at this time, it was sold to weapons companies who used it to make dynamite and other explosives because World War I was coming. It was there. We were warring. We were doing the war things.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah,
So,
because it's like my grandma was born in 1914,
Mhm.
like 2 days after World War I started.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
So, it had a lot of uses, not just to be
I don't think I knew
yummy and
that
sweet.
molasses was used in dynamite.
Well, it's they use it to make the alcohol that is then used in all this stuff.
All right.
So, you got to have something to ferment to get the alcohol.
Okay.
So it was a very large tank that was filled with 2.3 million gallons of molasses.
That's a lot.
It is a lot. Weighing about 13,000 tons. And
Yikes.
the Purity Distilling Company used the tank. It was at like the shipping yard, essentially. Like the ship brought it in, they pumped it in, and it stayed in this tank until it was ready to be used, at which point it would be transferred via a pipeline to the ethanol plant. Now, this was all taking place in the north end of Boston, which was one of the busiest commercial sites at that time. It's just super busy. It's also, in case you're visiting now, it's the best place to get good Italian food. Go to the north end. So good. So good.
Okay. Noted.
Yes. Paul Revere's house is also there if you care.
Okay, we went there. Yes. Okay.
Okay. So now we're going to go back to 1919. It's January 15th, which is, winter. Now, temperatures are usually pretty freaking cold in Boston.
Right.
And it had been very cold, but on this particular day, the temperature had risen to over 40 degrees and was rapidly climbing. Now, like 2 days before, it was 2 degrees. So, like, it was a pretty quick warm up.
So this is like some Kentucky weather bullshit.
Yes.
Where it's like, oh, we're going to be frigid one day and then we're going to be spring the next. Okay.
And so, especially back then, it's a little different now, but especially in the early 1900s, New England basically got cold and stayed cold, and like lakes froze over, like you could go ice skate. So this was unusual that it suddenly was so warm.
It's like a freak warm snap kind of thing. Yeah.
So the day before, on the 14th, a fresh load of molasses had been delivered from the Caribbean. And in order to get it off of the ship into the tank, they warmed it up slightly to help it kind of, thin out the viscosity or whatever. So it's easier to kind of get in. And so it was a little bit warmer, and they pumped it in, dumped it on top of molasses that was still in the tank from previous that was much colder and older. So good thing to know is that apparently this giant tank of molasses leaked from the very first time it was filled in 1915.
So it was never like
not ever super great. It had very poor construction. They never tested it. Like they didn't like build it and put water in it to make sure it didn't leak. They just built it. And
that seems like a flaw. Just saying. Like,
in that time span,
come on.
They had only filled it to capacity 8 times. Like it had stuff in it, but they only filled it up to like capacity 8 times. Right. And one of those times was only 2 days prior. So like it had been full, and it is now quite full again. Not at capacity, but close. And just so that you know, a full tank, like if it was at full capacity, it would hold like 3.5 Olympic-sized swimming pools worth of molasses. Like that is how big this tank is. It's very important you know that.
A lot of liquid. Okay.
So all of that in mind, for some reason, maybe because it leaked and was not built well and no one tested it and it was shitty, the tank structure failed at 12:30 p.m. on January 15th. Witnesses say that they could feel the ground shake and they heard a roar as it collapsed. So like some people said it sounded like a passing train, like the big roar of a train. Others said that there was like a big loud like thunderclap, like when the tank, gave up. And the rivets that were holding the steel sides together of the tank ended up shooting out of the tank, and it sounded like a machine gun.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was like,
So, like, you're probably thinking, well, but, like, it's molasses. Like, that's a lot of molasses, but, like, that's just molasses. But what happened is that when it came out, a 25-foot tall, 165 feet wide wave of molasses going 35 miles an hour exploded from the tank.
This sounds about as tragic as that flood.
Yes, this is basically
Johnstown.
the flood, but with molasses.
The Johnstown flood.
So you need to know molasses, of course, is more dense than water, obviously.
Yes.
Notoriously, it's slow to pour. So, like, again, you're thinking, I mean, it's molasses. It's probably just like oozing. But so molasses is I had to look at physics things for this. It's a non-Newtonian fluid. And so with the explosion, gravity caused it to move similar to like a mudslide or an avalanche or a lava flow. So like there was a lot more force behind it than our brains are letting us think, because you're like, just pour it out. It's no big deal.
I mean, you've got the heaviness, and then all of a sudden there's nothing there to hold it, and it's just dropping. I mean, yeah, I get what you're saying.
So it had so much force that it drove the steel panels of the tank against the girders of the elevated railroad and ended up tipping a streetcar off of its tracks. So forceful that it swept buildings off of their foundations, including a fire department.
Oh my gosh.
Several blocks were flooded with 2 to 3 feet of molasses. The Boston Post reported, this is a quote from one of their articles, molasses waist deep covered the street and swirled and bubbled about the wreckage. Here and there struggled to form. Whether it was animal or human, it was impossible to tell. Only an upheaval, a thrashing about in the sticky mass showed where any life was. The more they struggled, the deeper in the mess they were ensnailed. Human beings, men and women, suffered likewise. So, like, people were knocked off their feet. They would be picked up by the wave and, like, hurled several feet away. They were hit with the random debris that had gotten caught in it. Like, this is absolutely the flood of Johnstown.
Right, except it's sticky and
molasses, yeah. And, like, the wave was so forceful that it picked up a truck and hurled it into the Boston Harbor.
Oh, my gosh.
And then it gets worse, because after that initial wave, like after the wave has gone through, the molasses is cooling down, because 40 degrees is actually really cold when you're molasses. So it became more viscous and it became nearly impossible to get out of.
Because it was getting hard.
It's getting harder. Mm-hmm.
I mean, could you imagine being stuck waist deep in something like that?
Ugh, this is horrible, because like,
oh my gosh.
Well, like, you're just walking down the street and then suddenly you're overtaken by a wave of fucking molasses. And then, like, and then you die from that. Yeah.
But then it's like you don't die. But then you're stuck like waist. I mean, that's like quicksand bullshit. Like, remember you were a kid. Remember, like, quicksand was like all the rage back in the 80s.
Oh, I know. Like, I mean, I felt like
made you think that
there
as a child
was way more quicksand in the world than there really is. Yeah.
Right. That you were gonna die from quicksand somewhere, like always. Like, I feel like this is way worse than that.
This is way worse. So ultimately, 21 people died from this, from ages like 10 to 78. So, like, kids died. Like, this is horrible. These days are horrible. But, like, it's so fucking stupid. God. 150
like, if y'all had just
people,
like built this thing right in the first place, this would not have happened.
And we'll get to that. 150 people were injured. Now, some of these people were injured because of, like, the debris. Some of the people died because they were, like, hit with heavy things or debris or got injured that way. But a lot of them drowned in the molasses.
Oh my gosh. I can't imagine.
No. In fact, one story about a kid who survived. His name is Anthony DeStasio. He was walking home with his sisters from school when he got picked up by that wave and was carried. And he described it almost as like a surfing feeling, like he was on the crest of it because he was smaller. When he finally like hit the ground. Like the molasses went over him, and so he got up, and his mom was calling for him. Like he was trying to call back out, but he couldn't answer because his throat was so clogged. Like he was basically smothering in the molasses. He ended up passing out. Like he was not getting enough oxygen, but his sisters or mom or managed to clear it out because he came to and everything was okay. But like, damn.
Gosh, I can't imagine. Oh my gosh.
And so like a lot of people had issues with the molasses, like from having gotten into their throats or whatever.
Right.
And so coughing became like for like weeks after this, like one of the most common ailments that came as a result of this was just all the coughing and trying to get all that gunk out of your airways.
Right. Gosh.
So initially, the first people who came to the rescue was a group of 116 cadets from the USS Nantucket, which was a training ship that had been docked nearby. The Boston Police came, Red Cross, Army, Navy, like anybody who could came as fast as they could to try and help. To the point that like nurses were diving into the molasses trying to get people out because like they needed you had to get them out in order to try and save them or rescue however many you could. And so they worked like all through the night for like 4 days trying to rescue people. And so many people were injured that they built like a makeshift hospital nearby.
My gosh.
But it was really hard for them to like get through the molasses to try and like get to the victims and help them. And after 4 days, they gave up trying to find survivors. And so of the people that died, many of them were so glazed over, like so covered in the molasses that they were unrecognizable.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
And because it was so hard to like get through this molasses to like even get to the dead or what may be dead people or maybe debris, like it for several days, like the newspapers couldn't give accurate accounts of fatalities because it was just impossible.
Right.
Some victims were swept into the Boston Harbor because it went that way. And they weren't found for like 3 or 4 months after the disaster. So,
oh wow,
it was bad.
I was gonna say that might be your best option because then at least you're in the water and you're not. But then I guess you're out to sea. So,
well, and I think it meant like if you suffocated, you're whatever.
Oh yeah.
So there was a court case. In the wake of this, 119 residents brought one of the first class action lawsuits in United States history against the United States Industrial Alcohol Company.
Oh, wow.
Which owned the Purity Distilling. And it's actually one of the milestones in making sure that we have regulations.
I mean, fair.
So in the court case, the company claimed that the tank had been blown up by anarchists.
What? No.
Which sounds insane, but because some of the alcohol produced did go towards making munitions, it was something that feasibly could have happened. Because apparently in Boston alone, they had experienced 40 explosive incidents that year that were somehow related to anarchists and war and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And so the court appointed an auditor to kind of go through everything. And after several years and lots of hearings and lots of research, the auditor discovered, as I mentioned previously, that the tank was poorly constructed and leaked. And it turned out that Arthur Gell, who was the treasurer of the company, neglected the basic safety tests while overseeing the construction of the tank. So they didn't fill it to make sure, like with water, to make sure that it wasn't leaking. Apparently there were lots of warning sounds and lots of reports that it was making groaning noises when it was filled.
Oh my gosh.
It turned out he had no architectural or engineering experience. He couldn't read He couldn't even read blueprints. There were no legitimate engineers or architects that had done anything to assess the structure, build the structure, nothing.
What? Like, how did this tank get built?
And so when they first filled this tank in 1915 with molasses, the tank leaked so badly from the beginning that they painted it brown to try and hide the leakage. And local residents, especially kids, would come up with like pails and fill them with molasses that was leaking out just to have for home.
Wow.
And I'm like, damn.
So that's crazy.
It was bad from the very beginning. Like, oh my God. The company ultimately paid out $628,000 in damages, which would be about $11 million today. And the relatives of those who died received $7,000 per victim, which is about $123,000.
Mm-hmm.
So like they really had to pay for their mistake.
Right.
And
as they should.
Yes. And as a result, because of this, like the state passed rules and regulations that required like certified engineers to do things, and then other states adopted that. So because of this, molasses flood is the reason why these things are the responsibility of the company. You know, they do have to make sure that stuff is done the right way. Like, so I'll end it with like cleaning it up.
Yeah.
So they ended up using salt water from a fireboat, because it's Boston. They have fireboats.
Yeah.
and some sand in order to like help wash it away. But it took weeks. And
I was getting ready to ask. I was like, how do you even start to clean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do you even start to clean something like that up? That sounds like a mess. Oh my gosh.
Right? And like, what was fascinating to me is that this story was all anyone talked about, of course, in Boston. It was so huge that even though lots of shit is happening in the world, like the molasses flood is on the front page, it knocks out the prohibition conversation, because part of the reason that the molasses, that they were bringing the molasses in so much, is they also were trying to prepare for the upcoming prohibition. Everyone can see it coming. It's coming. And so like lots of alcohol is trying to be hurriedly produced and sold.
Right.
Even though most of the alcohol went ethanol to make other things, which we've, found a lot about later, thanks to Claire's story.
Right.
But like, so it knocked that off of the newspaper. It knocks out the peace talks in Versailles. You know, the ones that actually ended the war that everyone was freaking out about. Like, none of that was on the front page of the newspapers for weeks, because it's all about the molasses flood. And it's insane. And so they do manage to get it cleaned up. There is like a plaque there today that kind of commemorates it. Like, obviously all that stuff is gone. Boston has changed a lot in the last 100 years.
Right.
But one of the things that is super bizarre is that for decades, and on hot summer days in the North End, you could still smell the molasses. It had so permeated. Like the streets and the buildings that, like, when it got really hot, that sweet smell would come out.
Talk about triggering. Oh my gosh.
I know. But that is the story of the Great Molasses Flood of Boston. Unfortunate for all the people who died, but like, what a fucking dumb way to die. I got drowned by a giant vat of molasses because some idiot didn't bother to try and build the tank correctly. Like, knew from the get-go that it was leaking and crap, so they painted it brown to hide it. Like, oh my God.
Like, that's garbage.
And then be like, oh, anarchists blew it up. And like, dude.
Oh, I would absolutely come back and haunt his ass.
I'd be like, dude, like, it leaks. Everybody knows it leaks. Like, we've complained to you about it making weird noises.
Like, shut your hole, please.
But what's fascinating is that, like, in subsequent years, people will kind of bring it back up and study it for various reasons. One study built like a miniature, like cardboard Boston, and used like corn syrup to try and like, mimic physics. It's all about the physics, which, it's been a while since I've had to physic. But like they also discovered that the steel was half as thick as it should have been, and that the rivets were too far apart, and like literally nothing about it was correct. The fact that it lasted as long as it did is bananas. But also that it exploded or, failed that day versus like in the summer. Like it wouldn't have been nearly as traumatic in the summer because it would have stayed warmer longer. So like people would have been less likely to drown in it. Get trapped in it. So. But like.
That's wild.
Isn't it?
That is wild.
Can you imagine like being upstairs and be like, what the hell is that noise? And like opening your window and there's 3 feet of molasses on the street. And you're like,
yeah, you're like, what just happened?
I don't have any idea what to do with this.
Right. You're like, what's happening? What's all this brown stuff? What?
I mean, and what a like horrific way to die. Like up to this point, I'd been like, don't want to drown. That just sounds horrible. Don't want to burn to death. That sounds horrible. Mm-hmm. But now I'm like, oh, new fear unlocked. Not just drowning and like that thick viscous consistency of like, I can like there is air. I can't get it off in order to breathe. It sounds so traumatic in a way
like that you're coated and it's like in your nostrils and yeah.
But
it sounds awful.
That is the story of the Great Molasses Flood of 1919.
That's terrible.
Yes, it is.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. I'm always happy to add new nightmares to everyone's list.
New nightmares.
Yep.
Always.
This is just a reminder to anyone who's listening. Stories like this remind us why we have to have external agencies keep things on the up and up with corporations, because we can't trust them to make good decisions because they're idiots. Because they'll be like, that's fine.
They just want to save some money.
Not fine. So.
Right.
Boy,
indeed. Oh my gosh. Wow. I'd never heard of that.
I swear it's just one of those. I think it's like it's an earworm. Like I heard it once and like I held on to it. Yeah. It's such a bizarre story that I feel like it has existed everywhere. I swear there is a small 2-sentence paragraph about it in my AP American History textbook, but maybe not. Who knows anymore? I could go home and look it up. I think I still have my American History textbook from high school. I'll go look it up for us.
Right. Yeah.
But all right, Claire.
Yes.
What are you judging this week?
I caught up on John Oliver this past week.
Oh, nice.
His main story was on libraries.
We were watching that last night. We haven't finished it, but
oh my god,
because
people,
library life, man.
I thought of you. I thought of you, but it was just about people trying to ban books, and I'm just like,
well, I said this to Spencer last night that in a library, like you as a kid can't just get a library card. Your parent or guardian has to fill out an application if you're under 18, at which point the onus is on them. They're responsible, not us. And I'm like, why isn't that enough to shut this shit down? To be like, look, you don't have to give your kid a library card.
Yeah.
So don't.
Right.
Like, don't let them have one if you're that concerned about it. But like otherwise, what the hell?
What blew my mind, and I don't know how far you got into it, but blew my mind is they were talking about it was a library in California that was having to pull all these books from the children's section that had
Mm-hmm.
like any kind of sexual content. You're thinking, oh, sexual content, but I'm talking about anything that could be construed.
Mm-hmm.
So you're talking about drawings of people like, what was it? There was one of like Native Americans and
Yes,
they're scantily
we did see that
clad.
part.
Yeah, and you're like, what?
It's like,
And
we
it was
can't
like
have
a
this
kid
book on water or on boats because there's a picture of a kid in a bathtub
bathtub.
with toy boats.
The kid was naked, but you couldn't see anything because the kid had a boat. The kid had a
Mm-hmm.
boat in the bathtub, but it's like, oh, the kid's in a bathtub. That could be sexual.
Mm-hmm.
And then, they pulled Everyone Poops,
Yep.
and they're putting all these children's books in adult sections. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
just like, the fuck. And then there was a part where there was this head librarian who resigned because she was getting like threats, death threats, all this stuff because this group had a list of like 400 books that they wanted banned. And the guy who was interviewing her asked her, how many of these books do you have at your library? And she
Mm-hmm.
said, not a single one. And I'm just like, and that is my problem
Mm-hmm.
with these people. And that was one thing that John Oliver pointed out was a lot of these people have never read these books that they're
No,
wanting banned.
no.
And a lot of them, it's just like, oh, I've read the synopsis and that's all I need to know. Because you have to like fill out like a certain
Yes.
paperwork and put why you want to ban this
Well,
book. And it's like,
those processes exist in libraries and have forever
yeah,
because sometimes publishers get it wrong, and that's where I don't work there anymore, but that's where they get like guideposts on
right.
like, where does this go? And I have always been look, it's on a parent to determine. Like, we can put anything out there as far as I'm concerned. Kids have
Right.
access to anything. If a parent says yes on the library card, it's out of my hands. You gave your kid power. I can't do anything about it. So, and like, parents often, like for a lot of kids, there'll be notes. It's like, a parent says, I don't want my kid to check out certain types of materials, like no DVDs, or they can only have 12 things instead of the full 50 or whatever the policy is. And so, like, we'll cater to that because the parent has come to us and said, not this. But, and there's a note in the account. So that when they can go to a self-checkout and do it, we have no idea. We can't stop that, but whatever.
But one of the other things that cracked me up with it was there was a lady at one of those town hall meetings who was talking to the, I guess, city councilor or whomever about it, saying that like, if your kid is in the library by themselves, she said, I'm going to assume that your child has a phone. And she said, if that's the case, she said, you've got a lot bigger problems than your child perusing the adult section at the library, and I think that's one thing that I don't understand why there's just such war on books.
Yeah, it doesn't
these
make sense,
days,
especially because like kids
have
aren't
access
reading
to the entire internet.
It's like kids aren't reading books like for funsies. It's not a thing that's really happening anymore, which is sad. So, like, look, if your kid's at the library, it's because you did something right and you've encouraged a love of reading and interest in introspection, and you give a shit about your kid and you're involved. Or your kid's at the library because you don't want to deal with them and you're ignoring them, at which point you've decided you don't give a shit about your kid. So you can't have it both ways.
Yeah. But I mean, he's showing videos of these right-winged,
it's insane,
idiots like reading these bits, like taking things out of context of these books at these town hall meetings just so they can say like the most shocking things that are in these books, the words, the cuss words, the sex parts, and to listen to like that stupid senator read it at like a Senate thing.
Yeah,
I'm just like, oh my god, this is so fucking cringy listening to you read this in your bad southern accent, sir. Like, stop it. It's just like what do you want to accomplish by sitting here reading about some man like talking about wanting to have sex with somebody? Like, what are you trying to accomplish by doing this?
What frustrates me is that like it's become this conversation of like librarians should be responsible, teachers should be responsible,
Right.
And I'm like, you are the parent. You are the
Yeah.
only person responsible, because everyone else has very specific guidelines and things that they have to follow. I mean, the fact that like librarians get accused of being groomers and pedophiles, I'm like,
and that was on there.
I was
yeah.
like, unlike most other people in your child's life, I mean, teachers of course excluded, but like librarians, anyone who works at a public library has to have an extensive background check because kids are involved. So
Right.
like, we do the background check, we do the trainings, we give a shit
Right.
about the health of your child, we're mandatory
Yes.
reporters. And again, as one of my old coworkers said, look, if we could groom kids and have any real impact on them, then they would wear deodorant, okay? Like, they would not be smelly. Like, that would be the first thing that we stick into their brain, is we would, groom that into them first, not going straight to, like, you should be a bisexual or trans or whatever horrific thing you think is, like, we don't, if, like, my God, we would make them throw away their garbage. Like, come on.
Right, yeah.
Get real. So
we would make them wear deodorant.
I'm sorry, kids are just and that is something, if you have never worked in a school or in a public place where like the public can just exist, and kids and again, public libraries primarily when it comes to like the teens, tweens, it's because they have no one to go home to, they have nowhere to go, their parents leave them at the library or make them go to the library because there are at least adults who, by the way, have had a background check there to make sure that they don't do anything horribly stupid. It's literally like, you've paid us to babysit, so you can't get mad that they picked up a book. Like,
but that was like, I'm watching it and I'm getting mad watching it, because I'm just like,
well, it's that most of these people don't fucking go to the public library anyway.
And that's what makes me mad.
Like,
is they're sitting there talking. I mean, they'll admit on these forums that they've not read this book. They've read the back of it. Yeah, they've read the back of it, and they don't like what they read on the back. So it's like, then what do you know about what's inside of it?
Not a goddamn thing.
And so, yeah, I mean, there are certain books that are not my cup of tea, but that doesn't mean I'm going to sit out here and lobby that nobody can read them. Mm-hmm. There's books that I've read. Like, I just read The Exorcist. Was I a fan? Not particularly. It was annoying. It was very wordy, and it was just like, get to the point, my dude. I need some action. Quit giving me this priest existential crisis. Anyway, does that mean I'm going to sit there and be like, no, this book needs to be banned? No, I am not. That was just like, it's like the style that the guy wrote in was not my cup of tea. But it's just like, I mean, the story of girl getting possessed by a demon. Yeah, was she not? I think that was also still like in question. So it's like, it's those kind of things where it's like, people still need to read. And I think that's the problem. I mean, I'm like you, I really wish more people would read. I'm so glad I've kind of gotten back into reading. I've enjoyed it. I'm like, yeah, why did I stop doing this? Like, why did life get in the way? And why did I quit reading so much? Because now I'm at work and I'm like, I just want to go home and read my book. I don't want to be here. I just want to go home and read my book. Like, that's where I'm at now, Like, I don't binge watch as much stuff because I'm just go home and read, and I feel like that's better. I don't know why. I'm just like, I'm gotten older and it's like, I'm in my reading era. I'm like I don't know. It's weird. Well, it's bizarre. But it's just like, I wish more people would go to the library, because I think it's sad that some libraries are actually shutting down because of these people who are trying to ban books. And you see that quote that's like, nobody who's tried to ban books has been on like the good side of history. And it's like, that's a fact. That is an absolute fact.
Well, and here's my thing is like, as someone who has dealt with books for a chunk of her working life.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, there are lots of books that I think are not appropriate and shouldn't be in the library because I disagree with the message that they send. I think it's that it's not a good message. And they're primarily Christian garbage books that make you feel bad about any urges or any desires that you might have, or that you're not good enough and you're just a sinner. And like, that stuff is really bad and traumatic. And there are some things I'm like, I don't like the message of these books. I also, and John Oliver brought these up, I also really hate the goddamn farting books. I do not know why kids are so fucking obsessed with things that fart. It is the most irritating, annoying thing that exists in children's literature, and I hate it. And I would get rid of all of it.
I know, when he was naming off, I was like, how many of these are there?
There are so many. Like, little kids just think fart and poop is so funny. And you're like...
Yeah, bathroom humor is, like, hilarious.
And, like, I hate all that. But as a intelligent, capable human being, I understand that those things are there to engage a kid. And because I don't like it, doesn't mean that other people can't like it. Yeah. Just because I think Christian stuff is garbage and is harmful and destroys lives doesn't mean that other people view it that way. And it is not for me to decide what other people get to read. I do not get to decide that. And that's it. And books are bought because people check them out. No library wants to hold on to something that no one is interested in and no one wants to have. It's a waste of shelf space. There's too many books out there. We will absolutely get rid of something that no one checks out. So, like, you don't like it, don't check it out. It'll probably eventually get weeded out anyway, because other people probably also don't like it. Like, yeah. Stop. Just calm down. It's a whole process for this. Ugh, it's gross.
I know. It was just everything about it, because it was talking about how some libraries were, like, losing funding because of stuff like this, and they're being shut down. And then it's like, people are sad, and then it's like they're coming in like, what did you expect when we lost like 80% of their funding? Like, we weren't going to shut down. You know, it's just like ridiculous, and I hate it.
I am
because
super
it's like,
thrilled to be out of that world. I mean, just for my own
mental health.
Well, mental health, yes. But also just like for job security, because like this stuff happens in states even, you know, like California. So I mean, we had people come in and fight with us at my last place about things, and I every single time would be like, you know, we do have a process, we're happy to look at it, and then I'm an asshole, I just put it right back on the shelf. My coworkers are usually better about it, because I'm like, if you don't like it, don't check it out. It's literally it.
Well, that's what I would be like. I'd be like, you would be like, it is nobody's place. It's not your place. No. It's not my place to say.
I don't get to decide. I can promise you that there would be none of those Bill O'Reilly bullshits. There would be none of those. Oh, right. Killing Kennedy, killing all Jesus. None of that stuff would be on the shelves because it's garbage. There would be no Trump books because garbage. Like, but I don't get to make that decision. That is not for me. That is not the role of the people at a library. Their role is to provide materials that people are interested in and want to read. Literally it. Yeah.
But yeah, I just,
stupid.
That's my judge.
Oh, it's so
idiots who are trying to ban books just because they think they know better. Yeah. And they think they're saving their children, which I'm like, are your kids even reading anyway? Like, no. You know what? And some of these people didn't even have kids. Yeah. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Yeah. Like, stop. Stop it. Yeah. You know, it's like, I don't have children, but I wouldn't.
But I'm going to tell you what your children are allowed to have. And I'm like, fuck you, bitch.
No. So stupid.
It makes me angry. It makes me angry so much. I'm like, you know, if you want to fuck up your own kids, that's fine. You can work out how they pay for therapy later. But you don't get to mess with other people's kids. You let them fuck them up however they want.
Right. It's like, damn. It's like, and I don't have children, but I'll sit out there and I'll fight for other people's kids.
Absolutely.
Be like, no, they have the right to read.
They have the right.
Fuck they want, you know.
It's like, those parents have the right to decide for their kids. You don't have the right to decide for their kids. It's 100% what it is. It's like, no.
I think that's what drives me crazy. It's like with anything else. It's like, I should have the right to decide. You should not have the right to decide for me on anything.
Yeah.
Anything. Anyway, that's my judge.
Excellent.
Assholes trying to decide for other people.
I love that. That's a great judge.
Anyway, what are you judging?
So today I am going to judge myself because a couple of things.
What did you do?
I didn't do anything. This morning I woke up in a really good mood. It was just great. I was like, you know, let's go get breakfast. Let's go do breakfast things. And so I let Spencer pick, because I feel like I pick breakfast a lot. I always want to go get donuts and coffee. And I was like, you know, And so we decided to pick up breakfast from the diner, and I just ran and grabbed it, brought it home. And so here's the positive. The positive was I'm eating my pancakes while I'm sitting in front of the television watching Rugrats, and had like the most nostalgic flashback to Saturday mornings of like
Nice.
all of my childhood. And I was like, my mommy used to make me pancakes and I would watch Rugrats, and
Nice.
which was great. And it was a fun moment. I was like, I remember doing this as a kid. And then I was thinking, had to be Saturdays that mom made pancakes because school week, obviously busy.
Right.
Sunday morning was church day, so we had to like get going.
Yeah.
But so Saturday morning, pancakes, cartoons. But so judging me, so I went to go pick up the food at the diner, and it wasn't quite ready yet. Totally fine. And they were pretty busy. Lots of pickup orders. Some were like DoorDash. Some people came in and picked it up. People obviously sitting and eating there. And like there were a couple of instances where like a man came in, either picking up food or sitting at whatever.
Yeah.
And like in each of those instances, I got out of their way. They were never moving out of my way. Like I kept like making room so they could, because I was standing near the front door.
Yeah.
And like I realized later, I need to stop doing that shit, because like,
yeah.
it is such a like a woman
girl
thing, a girl thing to be
female
like, let
thing
me
to,
get out
like-
of your way, because like he's capable of fucking moving. Like there's enough room. Like I can slightly move. I don't need to like
Yeah.
shrink away like a fucking
Right.
And I was like, God damn it! What a annoying thing to have ingrained in my brain that I just am like, fuck that shit.
That you're the one who has to move. Like,
'Cause,
why
like,
do you?
He's capable. He can move. He's fine. But then I was like, I do that a lot. Like, my instinct is to get out of the way of people. And I'm like, why can't they just fucking go around me?
Right.
So, and other women don't. We make space for each other.
Yeah. Like, we'll both move.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we both move. And we're like, oh, I'm sorry. My bad.
Like,
it's like.
I remembered some like random TikTok video from a while ago about like the micro feminist thing that people do or whatever. And this one person was talking about how when she's on like the sidewalk, she does not get out of the way. She will shoulder check a guy. Like, you can move. And I'm going, maybe I need to embrace a little bit of that mindset. Maybe not quite to that point.
Not shoulder check,
but like it's like, this is my space and I deserve to have space too.
Yeah.
But
like, own your space.
Like everyone at the, like all the employees, everybody was super nice. It was they were wonderful.
Right.
There was nothing about that. It was 100% just like that random thing of being
people.
like, why do I always get out of their way? They can fucking get out of my way. Like, bitch, please. So
you're like,
So I'm judging myself as like a challenge to like be better, not always get out of the way.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good judge, though.
Thank you.
You're like, why do I always do that?
It's just, yeah.
No, I get it.
I can never decide, and I'm sure I should talk to my therapist about this at some point, but like I can never decide if like those kinds of things are because I was raised in like a Southern-ish kind of culture. Like, is it the Southern aspects of the culture that we grew up in? Because, Southeastern Kentucky has a lot of that. Or is it from like the religious aspect of like women are supposed to be this certain role and we're taught that in church? Or is it some fucked up combination of both of those things are not related to it at all? Like, I don't
say little column A,
little column
B. Yeah.
So
that's what I'm thinking.
I have spent a sizable chunk of my week listening to a lot of atheist agnostic YouTube channels. I prefer the agnostic because I think that's where I fall as more closely. It's like, I don't know if there's a thing. The thing that I've been told I don't think is real. There may still be a thing, but it doesn't look like the thing that has been pounded in my brain. It's kind of where I fall.
Gotcha.
But it's fascinating to listen to the thoughts
Yeah.
And, it's been digging my secular Bible study
Right.
playlist I've been listening to. It's like, But anyway, so yes, that's my judge.
That's a good judge.
Which means
Yes.
that it must be time for
Mm-hmm.
Tarot Time with April. Spooky. All right, Claire, are you ready?
Yes.
Let us ask the cards. What can we as women do to own our space?
Yes.
You can tell me when to stop. I keep forgetting to let you do that.
It's okay. It's like
I'm just kind of like,
I know, and then you just kind of stop on your own. It's like, all right, that's fine. I don't care. Like, whatever. Stop.
All right. I don't want people to think I've been cheating all this time.
I know.
Somehow
right?
magically on the camera.
Right.
And also, that's a lot of effort to put into that.
I mean, fair.
No, apparently it wants me to flip the first and second card because it just okay. So we have the 10 of Cups. We have the Knight of Wands inverted. And we have the 6 of Pentacles inverted. Interesting.
One of these inverted ones.
I know. It's it's a thing that I'm sure makes sense to people who know. All right. The 10 of Cups. Blessings, celebrations, and wishes coming true. It's a great card to have for the short term. My problem with the 10 of Cups is it seems to have a sitting on your laurels feel to it. You got everything you wanted, now what? What are your new goals? Will you share this good energy and fortune? Will you roll this fortune into new ventures? When it comes up in readings, I'm quick to high-five the client, but then we talk about what's coming around the corner. I mean, you can only stare at a rainbow for so long, it gets very boring. So I guess it's like, we have come a good chunk of the way. We can celebrate that, but we still got some shit to do.
Yeah.
It's like, kind of like how you read
Like you
that.
still got work.
It's like, it's been nice, but also, you're not done. So, okay. This is fun. The Knights of Wands inverted. The tagline for the card. Are you ready for it?
Yeah.
Do you even joust, bro?
I
I dig it. He's driven by his wand. He is impulsive, impetuous, and reckless. He's aggressive and callous, a complete and utter bastard. Action, action, action. Very little direction. Interesting. I don't know how to take that. Is that like the male energy in the feminist war or whatever?
Right.
I'm not sure.
Interesting. Yeah.
I just read this. I don't know anything.
You're like, I don't really know.
I mean, I'm here for it. Okay. 6 of Pentacles, also inverted. Falling into debt is like stealing from future you. When you take from yourself, you're promising yourself and your family a more difficult future. I don't think a lot of people see it like this, which is why debt is so common. Stealing from other people eats a little bit of you away. Anytime you diminish the light of another human being, you diminish your light as well. So don't diminish other women or other people for that matter.
Yeah. Well, you know how some people are always like, some women are always constantly like in competition with other people.
Yes.
Like, don't do that. Yeah.
So I guess maybe the point of it is, celebrate where you are. You're not done. Action is important, but you don't want to hurt anyone else in that journey because it doesn't help you.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Hold your space, take your space, but like maybe don't shoulder check. Maybe that's a bit much.
Yeah.
Unless you need to, obviously. Sometimes you need to.
Right.
Shoulder check if you need to. That's what I'm saying. All right. Well, Claire,
Yes.
what will be our topic for next week?
Something fun that we haven't done in a while.
Okay, here we go. Here we go. It's gonna be May.
I know. Ooh,
Around the world.
we have not done that. in a
We will
while.
have around the world something
Interesting.
different. Fun. Cool.
Mhm.
I'm here for that. I'm here for that. So join us next time as we talk something from around the world. Maybe it's a serial killer who hopped to different countries. Maybe it's some weird boat race that takes you around the world, quite literally. You'll have to wait and see.
Who knows? The world is our oyster.
It sure is. But until then, you can find us in all the things and at all the places at
Brunch and Judge.
Please follow, like, comment, subscribe. And you can send us new topics for our wheel or any stories you'd like us to cover to us at
brunchandjudge@gmail.com.
So until next time, keep on brunching.
And keep on judging.
Bye.
Bye. And don't have a temper tantrum while playing golf.
Yeah. And maybe avoid molasses.
That too.
So.